What's up, everybody? This is Greg with Advantage One Brokers, and this is the ADV1 podcast. This is a podcast that comes to you each and every weekday with relevant topics and trainings, and we have guest speakers. And today, we have a very special guest speaker. Someone who's only been with us for a couple of weeks, Mr. Antoine Bryan. Antoine, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for the introduction. Pleasure meeting you too.
You're very welcome. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure being on this with you. Before we get started, so we are at the very beginning of November, the month of November, but we still have the quality level term competition going on. So that means that the top 10 writers that write the most net place production of the quality level term will be awarded something. The first place winner gets $5,000 cash and flown out to Sacramento to spend a day with Chris, Spencer, and myself. Get on podcast live, be able to see all the systems that Quilly's doing, et cetera, et cetera. We've talked about this, but we really want to make sure that that top place winner is taken care of. Now, Antoine, you've been here with us for 2 weeks, and tell us a little bit, because most people probably don't know who you are. They don't know your background. Tell us your background, how you got into insurance, how long you've been, what brought you to Advantage One Brokers, et cetera.
All right, easy enough. So obviously my name is Antoine Bryan. I've been with you guys for 2 weeks now. I started in insurance when my last company ended up closing its doors. So that was in around 2018 or so. I was in structured settlement transfers, not JG Wentworth, but a company very similar to them. And I kind of just took a couple months to kind of get my bearings, see what next move I wanted to make. I enjoyed settlements, but not enough, obviously. So like a lot of us that are out there, I ended up I ended up producing with them for about 8 to 9 months or so. And then I kind of took another break from insurance, especially when COVID hit. I started the week before our first Florida lockdown. So I was powering through the whole entire summer. And I just got to the point where I needed to kind of take a step back because, you know, the business side and the expenses weren't matching the production. So I reevaluated, and in my reevaluation time, I was actually going to be contracted with another telesales company. And then thankfully, the same day I was starting my first day on the phones, I saw your and Genevieve's live on Facebook about you transitioning to ADV1. And so I decided to do a little bit of digging, excuse me. I contacted a few people that I knew that were on your team, people that may have heard about Advantage One. I loved everything I heard. And then I accidentally ran into Lance's Facebook page the next day, sent him a direct message, met with him the following Tuesday, started contracting the same day. And now I'm here.
Very nice. Very nice. I like it. So in the 2 weeks you've been here, you've been doing telesales only. Talk to us about what that transition's been like for you in terms of the carriers, the leads, the training. What's been the most beneficial for you? Where have you had the most success, and what do you attribute to that success?
Well, a couple factors definitely are the key contributors. I think the first part I definitely want to mention is when it comes to the simplicity of telesales, I'm really only focusing on, number one, the customer in front of me. I'm not worried about scheduling these appointments. The appointments are coming to me. So essentially, that's one of the biggest things. No more dial dates for me, which I'm very happy about because I was an excellent booker when it came to appointments. But the worst part was the 12 hours it took to even get to the 15 to 30 appointments, depending on how many days I was dialing that week. Number two, are leads. The leads that are being transferred to me, not only do they have the utmost strongest intent I could ever ask for, they're also qualified before I even get them. So we're kind of double qualifying, which gets me to a sale quicker. So leading up to that one call close. And number three is 100% Lance. Lance's ability to empower me to be who I am, because I did grow up on the phones. My first job was on the phones at a car dealership. So I actually became manager of the business development center. Ended up firing everybody in there, hiring, trained them up from the ground up, and then we ended up closing as just an internet department over 40 cars to 60 cars per month just from that alone, which I had the ability to take every sale. So I was part-time in college, working about 3 days a week, moving about 60 to 70 cars, which was a lot of fun. Um, and so essentially my background, I guess, is the fourth thing in terms of being a strong communicator on the phone and be able to empathize with people and kind of read them is a great tool I've been able to learn over the course of my life to lead up to this day and every day from here on out.
Fantastic, fantastic. And how much have you wrote so far since you've been here? Really, really, not you probably haven't been writing the whole 2 weeks, but since you've been here, how much business have you written?
Yeah, so I'm just right below 13 grand. The number that we had Friday, my closing number was 12,797.
Mm-hmm.
And the final issue paid will be delivered tomorrow because I had a couple people that needed to be on their Social Security schedule. And
Yeah,
so every deal that I wrote has went through, been approved, and will be issue paid. So I'm excited.
that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Congratulations on the success. And you're like you're saying you're attributing it to the leads. You're attributing it to the training that you're doing with Lance and everything that you've learned so far here. Now, you kind of started at a very opportune time because we have a brand new vendor that we're using for domestic transfers, live transfers, and we started a test. We're by the time this airs, the test will be done, and that vendor will likely be on contract with us. But so far, the feedback from all the agents doing it is phenomenal. Talk about your metrics. Talk about what's different about these transfers, what you've noticed, since you've been in the industry. Walk. I want you to paint the picture of what these transfers are like a brand new agent that's never done transfers before, so they understand everything about it.
Oh, easy enough. So first off, shout out to Chase McAllister, who is our new vendor leader for these leads. The biggest thing that I noticed was his communication about a system, how strong he believes in his leads, and as a salesperson, that gave me all the confidence in the world. I mean, the first call that I took from him was, I think it was a sale over $120, my first call. In terms of the leads that I've taken so far, I'm 6 for 8 on those leads. And one of the best things, I was able to give my recommendations and my feedback about the fronters and the way that they were delivering and making sure that I was getting the proper information because now, as of yesterday, we do have a system that delivers real-time information about the customer that is being transferred to us. But before, it was just a strictly, verbal handoff. And what I can say about that is I was able to tell them, hey, like I'm not getting the state up front. I'm not getting these key factors. And then the very next call that I took, it was immediately in place, the things that I was asking for. So what I can tell you is the latency between what we need and what we ask them for has been very small, which has produced obviously into success for me. So being 6 for 8 on those leads and the actual lead themselves, they know exactly what they're on the phone about. No
Mm-hmm.
one's confused.
Mm-hmm.
No one thought it was free. No one thought that they were talking about Medicare or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we get 2 minutes to qualify this customer up front. So a lot of people are out there, if you're thinking about taking the telesales leads or already are and not having as much success as you think you should, one of the key contributors, if you ask me, is you're not qualifying strong enough in the first 2 minutes of Lance's script. That creates whether or not that person is a suspect or a prospect, which is the verbiage that he taught us. And I think that it holds true. If you are able to dig deep enough and ask those qualifying questions up front, we're not worried about payment information at the end. We're not worried about anything but gaining the customer's trust, building that rapport. And when it comes time for that personal information, it's all about how you deliver it. So I don't really get questions about why I need social security numbers or account information because it's a qualified customer once again, and I did a good job knocking down those obstacles before I even got to them. So yeah, I understand that comes with a lot of training that I've had on the phones before I got here, because any customer, no matter what industry that they're in, they want to be led. They
Mm.
want to make sure that they're being heard, and they want to be sold, even though they're not. They're telling you that they don't want to be. So as long as you can complete those three things, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to get off on a phone appointment within 35 to 55 minutes, which is my average call time is about 55 minutes, because I do spend a little bit more time than the average person that's on the phones that's we've been training or around me, building rapport, because I think once I hang up the phone, the rapport that I have with that customer will decide that when it gets the policy in hand, whether or not they're going to keep it or cancel it. Um, so yeah, so that's those are like the main things that I've been focusing on, that I've noticed from those leads. They're excellent, and yeah, they may be a little bit steep in price, especially if you're first starting out. But we do have the international transfer leads, which you can use to start getting the marbles out of your mouth, build up your confidence on the phone, and then transition to the higher price domestic live transfers. So once you get there, if you prepared properly, there should be no question that these should turn into very medium to nice size APs, or excuse me, monthly premiums for you that you should be submitting on the first call every time.
Mhm. No, you did a good job of kind of painting that picture. And just to dig in a little deeper, um, the reason why these are so expensive, so much more expensive than like a regular live transfer, is because every single one of these are actually, they were opt-in. So this is somebody that actually went online. They're Google generated by SEO. There's a lot of different websites that the company has, and they're basically researching to find some kind of final expense or burial plans online. They fill out their information. Their information was taken and put into a bot, that basically started messaging them, like a messaging server that gathered all their information. And what they can tell you is that 100% of people that got into a bot or to the automatic messenger answered 100% of the questions. So, and we can tailor those questions to whatever we want. And there's a lot of info that's there. So once they've gone through that, then they get called and they get transferred once they show interest that they want to talk to somebody today or right now. So that's a lot of steps and processes that were put in place in order to make sure that these people really are interested in having a conversation. Have you had anybody, like you said, that's like, they had no idea what was going on, why they were transferred, or were not looking for insurance, And it's just a no-brainer.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I
So
mean, the only two people that I didn't close were actually people. One of them was a guaranteed issue, and obviously it was way too expensive for him.
hmm,
And the second one that I wasn't able to move forward, I knew in the beginning that he was a suspect, but, but for my own peace of mind, not only did I push through, I was also training. I had people behind me listening to my phone call.
hmm,
So honestly, I probably would have hung that up. So I probably would have been 6 for 7. So I just pushed through. I showed that I could still get to where I wanted to end the call by taking the lead, no matter what the other person was telling me. And that's the main reason why I took that one. So if I was to scrub that off of my stats, give myself a mulligan, I would.
hmm,
But just for the sake of business, I mean, still going 6 for 8, no matter what. Since I did take a shot at that one, I still think it's a very high percentage of closing, no matter what my skill set is, because once again, like you said, these are people that are looking for insurance within the last week or maybe within the last couple minutes. And then by being pre-screened before they're coming to us, there's no question whether or not they're looking for life insurance or Medicare. And we obviously know which one they're looking for with us.
yeah, absolutely. And for the listeners, why don't you give your opening 2-minute spiel, how you do it, in order to make sure that you qualify this call, make sure that they're ready to go. I can go into my sales process and then follow the following closing process afterwards.
Okay, easy enough. So thanks for catching me off guard. I
Yeah.
usually have my script in front of me, but I'm actually not going to put it. I'm not even going to bring it up. We should be good enough by now. You'll be my customer.
Okay.
So the live transfer will come onto the line, say, "Hey, Antoine, I've got Mr. Greg here from Texas. He's 60 years old, looking for final expense information. He does have a valid checking account, and he does make all of his financial decisions himself. Can you assist him?" And I would go, "Of course I can." Good morning, Mr. Greg. My name is Antoine Bryan, and I am the licensed insurance broker that will be assisting you on this call today. And just so I know how to handle you and your family properly and efficiently, are we looking for life insurance options today because you don't have any coverage and realize you need some? Or are you looking to add a little bit of coverage to what you already have?
I'm looking to add some coverage. I have some, but it's through work. I'm about to retire, and I need to get something in place.
Okay. Excellent. And I'll definitely be the right man for the job. I'm glad you got in touch with me before your insurance actually canceled, because you definitely don't want any delay. But before I even get started, all the insurance carriers that I do work with, which are all the AAA rated ones across the country, they ask me to ask these two qualifying questions. Number one, do you have an active checking or savings account? Yes or no?
Yes.
Beautiful. And do you make all of your financial decisions yourself? Yes or no?
Yes, I do.
Perfect. Thank you for that information. And now I'm going to lead up into a couple medical questions so I can guide you in the right direction. Nothing too personal. What this is going to be able to do for me is I'm going to be able to customize a plan for you based on your health answers that you give me, give you the benefits and features of those plans, and then tailor a customized low cost option to you and your budget, not mine. How does that sound?
That sounds perfect.
Perfect. And this is where I would lead into all the medical questions. So we can skip past that.
Okay. So real basic. I mean, that took like 60 seconds. Real basic. You know. So even though when they first get on the phone and they're doing the transfer, whoever the live transfer specialist is, the fronter, fronters and closers, whatever the fronter tells you, it says, hey, they have an active checking account. They make all their decisions themselves. You're still asking and qualifying those same questions once again?
100%. Because not only am I qualifying, I'm starting a yes track with that customer. I want them to get used to telling me the answers to the questions that I want to hear and nothing else. So by me being firm with my questions up front, and even some of them will ask, I just answer those questions. Well, ma'am, I understand that, but I am the current broker on the phone with you, and I need to verify the information that's been given to my assistant because he handles so many things on a day-to-day basis was correct. And I would keep going into my script to make sure I kept holding their hand along the way.
Yeah. The sales funnel, the sales process, like it is a funnel per se. So okay, so perfect. And how long does it take you, would you say, before you get into an application, before you've made a decision, you get into an application, et cetera?
So depends on the customer, but I would say no more than 15 to 20 minutes max. Sometimes we get customers on the phone that want to give me their whole backstory,
Mhm.
and I'll try to let them speak as much as possible because that also goes into my rapport building. But I also try to get the conversation back on track. You never want to lose sight of your end goal because sometimes you can get into a conversation, and then next thing you know, you forgot what even your next question is.
Yeah.
So even though I may let them speak and I may engage them on what they're speaking to me about, it's 100% my goal to get them back on track with the answers to the questions that I need.
Yeah.
Also, you have people that take a little bit more underwriting on their medical questions, especially the ones that don't know the names of their medications. So I will have them get up, go find them, so they can read me them hand by hand. And once again, I'm creating a pattern um, of answering. We call it a yes pattern. By them getting up and getting me their by getting their medications, they're doing something for me, and then I'm in return going to be giving them something back, which is now their quotes based on the information that they gave me. in order to create some kind of legitimacy, not only behind me and the insurance company I'm going to be working with,
Mm.
but also the product that they have in mind. Because after they just gave me all that information, I go through the benefits and features, which include your accidental, your guaranteed coverage, your premium locked in, living benefits, all that good stuff. And then
Mm.
I'm moving to quotes right after that, making sure that they understand that, hey, not only that, I have now reintroduced myself to that customer. My name is Antoine Bryan. Just to reintroduce myself, you probably didn't remember my name. That's okay. Sometimes I have to look up at the screen and remember yours, but at the same time, we're getting to know each other. I want you to know that I am the best person for you and your family situation. I'll bring up their beneficiary again. Hey, we're going to be going through your options now to pick the best coverage for you and your beneficiary. I want you to pick the option that's best for you out of the three that I give you. If for some reason those three don't work, I want you to tell me up front. You're not going to hang up on me. We're going to find something that's in your budget because, once again, it's not mine. And I'm trying to find you coverage that you can make sure that it's affordable for you every single month. And usually by me giving that little spiel right there, reintroducing myself, which once again is in the script that Lance taught us, it's created so much ease when I flow into now I'm giving three options. I'm having them pick one. I congratulate them on picking the best one that I thought that they would pick. And then I'm going ahead and moving into my application and getting it submitted.
At what point do you typically decide what carrier to go with, what carrier and product?
So this is really easy. If a lot of you have not used American Amicable, when it comes to submitting immediate coverage, this is the most easy immediate coverage I've ever gotten for people that I never thought even deserved immediate coverage. And also, on your application, one of the first check boxes on the first page of the application says, would you like to submit this customer for return of premium? If for some reason they don't get approved for immediate coverage. So not only do I not have to have backup applications like we would in home, most likely by the time I get to the underwriting decision, once I've done my voice recording, I know whether or not the customer is getting immediate coverage or qualifies for return of premium. If the customer qualifies for return of premium, this is when I use back the list of medications that they gave me and explain to them, yeah, you might not get approved for this coverage that we just talked about today in terms of the full amount. But you remember, you're at a higher risk class because of this, and that, your heart attack, your stroke, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm setting them up for the app for the binder of their new policy because it already told me on my screen it's ROP. I'm setting them up. Hey, you may not get approved for the full amount, but what I can tell you is you're going to get approved for something. And this is going to be the best policy for you in terms of the benefits, the price, and the coverage. Because if I had to go to what's called guaranteed issue, you would have a 2-year wait, which is similar to the ROP, but you don't get as much in return after your policy goes into effect after the 2 years in terms of how much you're paying for what you're getting in return. So by setting them up for this, I've had about 2 of those so far. All 2 of those customers have called me when their policy has gotten to their home. I have now gone over the fact that they are a return of premium customer and they have no issues and are thankful for the fact that we got them coverage anyway. Because once again, these are people that have been shopping and they know that most likely by the time they got to me. Oh, and this leads into another question that's super important. When we talk about how long they've been looking for coverage, is it because you just haven't found the right person or the right price? Is that the reason why you don't have life insurance at this point? And they'll say yes. And that's another point for me to sell myself. Well, Mrs. Customer, what I'm going to let you know today is you're not going to have to worry about finding a price that's not in your budget. Because once again, this is not my budget. This is yours. Most of my customers are on fixed income. And I'm sure it's safe to say you're one of those customers too, correct? Everybody says yes.
Yeah.
And then that's when I next lead into depending on whether or not the customer is a certain range. So let's say if the customer is like between 70 and 80 and may not be retired or are retired at this point, their income could be very low, especially if they're not married. So I would also follow up with, I assume it's safe to say that any coverage I find you today needs to be under $100 per month. Is that correct? And obviously the customer would 100% say yes.
Yeah.
So I'm now giving prices at 90, 85, and maybe 75 to $70 per month. And most likely they're going to pick one of those. In very few cases that I've had or that I've even experienced in my past before I even got here, if I've had to go lower, I mean, you're going to go lower. And I'm obviously, my threshold that also I follow from Lance is I don't really want to go below $40 per month. Because if they can't afford that, especially if I'm going with their Social Security schedule, what's the chances of that staying on the books? Pretty slim.
Yeah.
So just those key things that I'm throwing in there, I'm just throwing little nuggets like throughout my entire phone call, reminding them that it's not my budget, reminding them that I am going to be the person for them, reminding them that it's okay to be honest about your medical conditions, because no matter what, before I get off the phone with you today, I am going to find you the best coverage and the best price for you and your family to make sure that you never lapse this policy. And combined with the lead intent, it's providing the best closing ratio that I've had in a 2-week span in a long time, no matter what industry I've been in.
Absolutely. And that's really for live transfers and for like remote sales, live transfers period. That's a great closing ratio to start off with. So you're crushing it, man. So Antoine, the last thing I want to do is go over what's your close. And a lot of people always confuse the sales process with the closing process. Those are two separate processes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Your sales process is the ability of you walking them through to gain interest and garner that interest all the way through to the end. That closing process is getting them to put pen to paper, sign the dotted line, agree to the actual terms, and do an application. So what does your closing process look like?
Well, so even though you've separated the two for me, they kind of blend together because the customer, I'm not announcing to them that they're now doing an application. This is something I'm already doing. Once they've now chose the best price for them, now I'm building more value, reminding them, hey, like this is what you're getting with this price, and it's going to be great for you. And I keep reminding them their why. That's part of the sales process part. Now, when we get to the closing is essentially, I feel that I've now closed the deal once I get my account information and my Social Security number, because especially for AMAM, those are the last questions in the personal information. So my setup during the sales process for the closing, when I get to that point, is Mr. Customer, I am now in the personal information of your application. Anything that you share with me today will only be shared with the insurance carrier to get you pre-approved for coverage. Nothing that you share with me will be written down, recorded, or used in any third-party manner whatsoever. Are we both on the same page about that? And obviously, I'm waiting for my acknowledgement from that customer. As soon as I hear that yes, and that there's no hesitation, I know I'm now about to get the social, the account information. We're going to now do a voice recording. And then once I have my voice recording, we're now submitting to the underwriting engine. I'm going to get an answer right there. Also, this is a point where, just a little side note, if you're not, we go over this in the weekly telesales all the time, but if you're not registered in that state, you're going to apply for that license, hold off on the submit. Once you actually submit for that license, then you hit submit. So I've now gotten my account information, my social. They've now given me the beneficiary. All that stuff is now entered. Essentially, my job is done. That's a deal, because now I'm coaching them on the voice recording. All the answers to my voice recording are going to be yes, except for your name and today's date that you're going to state for the recording. Once I'm now done with the recording, the closing is the warm down, essentially, that I'm giving them. Can you now explain to me how your policy works? And if they don't tell you off the top about the accidental and all those things, I'm now reiterating all of that to them. Also, what you're going to get from me is the number that you're talking to me on. This is your cell phone number, correct? And most of them will say yes. I don't get a lot of home phone numbers. I'm now sending my national producer number, my picture of my driver's license for the state of Florida, and whatever license they need in their state to validate that they just made the right decision to trust somebody over the phone with their personal information and of course their banking information in order to get them qualified for their insurance. Also, Mr. Customer, what do you think you're going to do when your policy reaches you? I'm going to call you, or someone will be like, I don't know. Well, you're going to call me. I need you to make sure that everything I told you is written down in this booklet, that you see all the riders and things that we got you covered for with today, and that there's no issues with spelling beneficiary, anything like that. I'd say more than half of my customers that I know that are delivered already have called me back. I'm going to follow up with the rest actually later on today, except for the I have 4 deals that are being issue paid tomorrow, like I said. So I would hope that they will call me when their policies get in. But from the choosing of the quotes to the voice signature to the cool down of the call, I would say that my sales process and the closing is kind of intermingled there. And if you do each part of that last step correctly, that leads to your close.
Awesome. And thank you so much for coming on board and sharing your experience and doing a little bit of training and how you're doing the life transfers and finding your success, Antoine. If anybody watches this and they think, man, I want to be a part of his team, I want to learn from him and work alongside him, how can they get a hold of you, Antoine? How can they contact you?
In multiple ways. As you see right here on the screen, my Instagram is tweezyallday. That's my nickname, obviously. I used to be a DJ back in the day, so that's just stuck. My guys gave me that nickname. So it's my handles for all of my social media. And my phone number is 561-715-1608. You can direct message me there. You can find me linked to Advantage One on Facebook. And Lance, if you guys know Lance Rodrigue, he's my direct manager. I'm inside of the office with him Monday through Friday on most days, or most weeks. Well, I've only been here for 2 weeks and 1 day, but this is where you'll find me. So if you want to come out, you want to learn how we do what we do, and especially train with some of the best producers that are on the phone right now, this is the office to come to. And we would love to have you, whether you want to be on our team or if you're part of someone else's team and you want to learn. We're here for the team. It's just kind of the culture that I've always lived by, no matter what industry I've been in. So if you have any questions, thoughts, concerns, or if you want to role play, give me a call.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for taking time, and everyone else watching, thank you for taking part in the ADV1 podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure that you hit the subscribe button, you turn on your notifications, because we're coming to you each and every weekday. I'm your host, Greg Birch, and here's the fee. If you watch this and you got any value from it, if it enhanced your life in some way, if you were entertained or you gathered some information, the fee is simple. Just share this podcast with somebody else that can also get value from it. That's the value proposition that we have, is we're going to continue to provide value to you. If you don't like it, that's fine. Don't share it. I don't care. If you did like it, awesome. Share it so that Antoine can get notified or get noticed for the hard work that he's doing. So thank you so much, everybody, for taking part.